Welcome to Session 8.
The sessions for this week are called What is Real Love and Am I Good Enough? But we're going to combine them this week. We've retitled it Real Love and Self-Worth. The reason we want to do this is because we want to spend less time focusing on the questions and spend more time helping you to understand some of what we've been hearing from our teens and the perspective of talking about real love with the teens. So a theme of concern that we're hearing a lot about from some of our teens is loneliness. And we say, how can they're around people all the time. How can they feel lonely? But we are beings of relationship. We can just look at all of our sacraments. All of our sacraments draw us into relationship. And so loneliness can definitely be seen as a hurt or a lack of a relationship. Loneliness can take on many forms and it can have many causes. We just wanted to really clarify here that we are not therapists, we're not counselors, but we wanted to briefly touch on some of the modern issues that our teens are facing and help you to understand how that can affect their ability to understand love.
And if at any point there are things that are said that you feel need more discussion, please contact the office so we can talk to their parents, and if necessary, connect them with actual therapists and counselors. There's an old phenomenon that's really becoming on the rise again with streaming, and it's the concept of parasocial relationships. To kind of take a wordy definition, parasocial relationships refer to a one-sided relationship in which a person develops a strong sense of connection, intimacy, or familiarity with someone they don't even know. Most often, this relationship is with celebrities or media personalities. These relationships exist only in the mind of the individual who experiences a bond despite the lack of both parties participating. Online streaming has really given us a perfect recipe for disaster here. So kind of just to reiterate, someone is feeling like they're creating a true relationship, but it's actually one-sided, self-created, and completely artificial. And what's worse is they have this acceptance of their self as part of the whole through the streaming concept of chat. And the streamers are talking to the collective, but individuals are feeling a distinctly personal interaction, which adds more complexity to the parasocial relationship. Often the veil eventually breaks, and this sudden realization of loneliness that can just slam into them, it can be devastating. There was never a real relationship there. We can go a step further here. If we go a step further here, we can start to see other ways that people have really bottled themselves in through echo chambering and filtering of their interactions, especially through digital interactions. If we only allow others to see our curated, perfect, to the situation version of ourselves, often a version of ourselves that's a complete mask to the real us, we never have to be vulnerably open in a way that a true relationship demands. And to compound that, we will seek out people that reaffirm our curated self. Like you see in the picture here, doom scrolling can really be seen as an example of constantly seeking to find the right changes that we need to make to our own mask we're hiding behind, as well as seeking the others that will validate us, or just trying to find and skip past all the things that don't align with what we want to be. And again, we're really just kind of creating this parasocial interaction and this distorted view of a relationship through all of our likes and sharing. None of this is to say that social media isn't bad or evil. I mean, everything can be used in a harmful way, but it's given a new rise to a different look on how this is happening.
So if you were to search up relationship on the internet, you're going to get bombarded with a lot of pictures like this. Yes, relationship does imply love. We often say, I'm in a relationship with someone else, but it doesn't have to mean only romantic love.
It is really strange when we look at the word love in the Bible. There's really kind of 4 types of it in the Bible, but they're all written differently in Greek. English just isn't the best at distinguishing that.
So the 4 types of love in the Bible, and they are in Greek. We're just going to very briefly review for you what those are. C.S. Lewis actually has a whole book on these, but this is just a very short summary. The first one, eros, this is romantic love. Yes, this is the love that we think of between a husband and a wife. Eros is very passionate, but that doesn't mean that eros has to be lustful. And when we think about all those times that we are passionate, Mary Magdalene finding Jesus in the tomb, and she's passionate about finding her Lord, but she's not lustful. She has eros. The next one, philia. Philia is a love about friendship. It is developing that camaraderie. It's about doing something with someone else, having that enthusiasm to be with someone else as a friend. Philia is the type of relationship that most of us experience at some point. We have Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. It's probably the one that we're most familiar with. The next one is called storge. Now, storge, you probably haven't heard of this one, but it is actually the one that we all use the most, even if we don't label it. Storge is affection, but not like passionate eros. Storge is the affection that a mother has for her child. It's an affection among kinship, among family. We can say that those people who are often thrown together to be together in the situation of a family or at college or in the religious house, or maybe if you are at sea on a ship, that is storge. That is that love, affection that we have for each other, the normal day-to-day of life. And this is a majority of the love that we experience. Our last type of love is agape. We call agape charity. Agape is that true self-giving love. It is the one, Jesus giving his life, dying on the cross for us is true agape. Right? It is the one that goes beyond the sorrow and the pain and is unconditional, just giving of your entire self for the other person.
So, if we have all these complex words for love in other languages, and in English we just say love, what is real love?
Real love is self-giving without the expectation of receiving something in return. It can feel simple to talk about, and we know it's complex, but God has this real love. He sent his son to die for us. And like we just said, English just says love, and we just defined all these different ways of love, and we don't know sometimes when someone says love, which love they're referring to, because we only have the one English word love. But remember that we can all exhibit all forms of love. But I would say there was only one person who really exhibited all four types of love completely.
He was God. God is the one that can perfectly take all forms of love and expose it fundamentally to us and share it with us. Which brings us to our next question.
How can we love like God loves?
Well, honestly, imperfectly. But still trying as much as we possibly can. God's love did not limit to specific people or in a specific way. We're called to share that same love that God has for each one of us with one another. With the 4 loves from the Bible in mind, you should really take some time to explore with your group about how we can actually share our love, because it's not just the fundamental male-female relationship like we talked about here. It is all the types of love, and we are all capable of expressing these correctly.
Yeah, so take some time, maybe break apart those 4 types of love. Ask them to give examples. When would you use this? When have you used this? When have you experienced this? I bet there's so many times that they didn't even realize, oh, that's that type of love or this type of love. So really take some time to look at it from this perspective.
When we really start to talk about love and sharing love and how we feel about love, we'll often arrive at the really hard question, am I good enough? We mean this in the sense of, am I good enough to be loved? Am I worthy of love? And again, if we kind of take that loneliness and the other issues we talked about from the start, we quickly run into this even in a worse way.
So as you're approaching this segment of the session this week, really just point on a few aspects. Maybe avoid the questions, but point on a few aspects. Okay, if they say, am I good enough? Am I worthy? And those parts you really need to highlight. 1, we are made in the image and likeness of God. We are the greatest of his creations. If God, who is all powerful, all knowing, all encompassing, says this is good, then it is good, and we can trust that. God says it. God willed you into being because he loves you, because you are worthy. God does that, and you are good as a consequence. And God's mercy is so complete that he already knows all the evils that we could do, will do, or might even just think about. But his love is unconditional. True love is unconditional, and God, being so perfect, can truly show that unconditional love. If we were willing to ask, he will forgive us. Go to reconciliation, go to confession, seek his mercy, and continue to love all the same.
The questions for the week feel a bit negative, and we want you to take some time to focus more on actually figuring out how we know that we are worthy of love. In what ways does God show his love to you now? In what ways do others see your worth? In what ways do you see it in others? Discuss it more in these terms, and not negatively.
Yeah, really give the students time to journal about this in some way, maybe doodle about this in some way, have some private introspective time, really think about it, and don't treat it as a quick hit list of, those reasons that they are worthy. Because really, we're not even asking, why am I worthy? They are worthy. End of story. That's it. And that is how we're going in with it. And now we want the students to really say, this is why I am worthy. They've already said I am. This is why.
What this is a journey into a personal relationship with God. For real love, for real self-worth, we have to have that relationship right first. Remember what Mrs. Bernadette said during the workshop. Our relationship with God is our prayer life. Start there, develop it, and see that as your relationship with God grows, so will all your other relationships.
Thank you for joining us. We just really pray that you and your students really come to know and understand and feel God's love and your own worth. In case you doubt it, you shouldn't. You are just as loved as the students are, and you are just as valuable and just as worthy.
And one final reminder, please push your students to talk with their family about these problems and subjects. We're not therapists. We're not counselors. The only thing they should be doing is reaching out to their family. And if there's a real situation, please let us know about it.
Remember, love is based on relationships, and we want them to really form those relationships in all aspects of their lives, especially with their families, so that they can continue to grow in love and self-worth. Have a blessed Advent.